call the July 20th meeting to order. And the first item on the agenda is public input. Anybody, public input? Yes, Mr. Babson?
The next time you're having a talk with the sheriff, I don't know whether you saw in the paper that his answer to the remote control status for...
I didn't see that.
...was for security reasons. And I'd really like to know, in the 40 years I've been here, I'd like to know how many deputy cars have been stolen or taken or whatever. I would say 2 is probably a huge number. And the second question would be, since these things are just for security, not to warm up cars, how many of his deputies come out of their home on a 0-degree morning and get into a cold car because their button is just for security? I would say 1 would be absolutely a huge number.
Okay.
You know, it's just, it's little and it's fiddly, but it's taxpayers' money. Most of us go out and get in a cold car. They can go out and start it, for that matter, at the moment. I can't believe it, and you can't, yeah, it's for security, but you can't be a nanny state and cover every single condition for every single opportunity. And but
I thought you might also ask where that money, what line item in his budget is that money coming out of? But go ahead, go ahead.
Health, maybe? Keep
Health?
them warm?
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Babson?
Yeah, I don't think I ought to speed in Carroll County.
Did you get stopped?
No, I'm saying I might, so I better be careful.
Yeah, go ahead, Damon.
I was just wondering what you two thought of Nick Tumpus's presentation last week. It just seemed like it left me with more questions than anything else, because I had no idea what he was talking about half the time. Congregant housing supports, they're gone. I didn't know they existed, so
Yeah.
what does that mean?
Yeah, well, I think, I've heard him speak the same language previously at another meeting, and I think until it all filters down as to what the cuts mean, we don't know. I still believe that we're going to get some that are going to filter down to the county to pick up. I don't know what those are going to be, but
Right.
we'll have to wait and see. Yes, Mr. Albee.
I know we're having another meeting with the delegation on Monday, and I've spent a significant amount of time trying to find any authorization in the statute for the delegation ordering, in our case, a private entity to give money to the county to support the debt. This is the $2 million question on the 501c3. But in doing that, I also remembered that at the last meeting, there was another ill-conceived motion floating around from Representative Albrin directing the commissioners to hire a consultant to create a business plan for the nursing home. I think it's high time that the commission, and maybe with the help of people like Representative Babson, who are more aware of the law, inform the delegation that that's not their province. They don't get to direct. They get to suggest, they get to
appropriate.
Yep. That's all they get to do.
Yep.
The notion that they can somehow make a motion to compel the commissioners to do something with regard to the management of the county business isn't supported at all by statute. So the government that we have has been working pretty well for a couple hundred years. I think if we continue to work it, it will continue to work well for the people in Carroll County. On the question of the old nursing home, just to be specific on numbers, you currently have 2% money in the bank. You're going to have
3% money.
3% money.
Yeah.
You have money left over. $500,000 of that money would cost you $42,656.25 a year.
Would you do that again, please, Chip?
42,000 what?
$42,656.25. So I think in the interest of becoming specific with what costs are, in order to compare the cost of what you're currently paying in rent in Conway to what $500,000 invested in the nursing home would cost. And if you look at I know there's been some discussion about tearing the whole thing down and then replacing spaces that we need. If you spent $500,000 on a 15,000 square foot core of the building, you end up owning that space, which you currently own for nothing, for $33 a square foot. I would challenge anybody in this room or in the county to construct any space of any value for $33 a square foot. I mean, even a homeowner has a hard time adding a porch for $33 a square foot.
You have a question regarding that, Mr. Babson?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead.
Chip, the 42,656, that's the interest on the 500?
No, that's interest and principal on $500,000 in 20 years. So hopefully between now, I'm sure the commission's been working on a plan for what they're going to present to the delegation.
We're not going to be ready to present anything until the 22nd, when Bonnet Page and Stone comes in with their estimate. Last Monday, we were up on the roof. We went through the old nursing home to find out where things could be changed over and so forth. And they're going to be coming in with an estimate on the 22nd. I hope on the 18th, there'll be just further discussion regarding corporate extension and not what else is going to go into the building. I read an AARP newsletter here the other day and came up with the idea, maybe there's something, some interest for homeless veterans that might take use of part of that nursing home on one of the wings. I don't know, but I think it's worthwhile looking into. They're doing it in Massachusetts quite successfully, and that might be something different than anybody else has thought of so far. I don't know if we have any homeless veterans in the state or in the county. I've asked the sheriff because he does get involved with veterans, and he said there's a place in Liberty, I guess it is, in New Hampshire, where veterans do go for homes. But anyway, it's another subject. Go ahead, continue.
And finally, on the sheriff's department, I can't tell you how brilliant an idea this promotion and or the increase in salary for the captain was. I know that I had my say about it a while ago, but as far as I can see, he's having yard sales and he's retired or is retiring. So we never required any sort of employment contract from this person. We increased his salary to $80,000, which essentially all that accomplished was bilking the retirement system out of more retirement money, because his retirement's going to be based upon that $80,000.
I will ask the sheriff.
A totally mismanaged position. This notion that someone's doing two jobs should get all this money was a crazy idea in the first place, because most of the people in the county are doing more than one job. But then to go ahead and just, throw that kind of money around, I think the sheriff needs to have his feet put to the fire on that deal, probably even more so than his boots and gloves and car starters. I mean,
I'll ask the sheriff to come in on Monday to explain that to the delegation, because they're supposed to be keeping track of the time.
Who's going to run this Byzantine computer system? The reason that was put forward was that he was going to save us all this money, and he's the only one that could run the computer system for the dispatch office. Well, now what kind of box are we in on that front? So I think the sheriff needs to be informing people as to how he's going to solve that problem.
Get anything further?
No, thank
No?
you.
Okay. Mr. Babson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I asked, a long time ago, and I hope it's done, he was supposed to keep an accurate time of.
Yes, he is. I'm going to ask him to come in on the
Is it gonna be,
18th
well,
to do
on
that.
Friday, let's try to figure out how many hours he did it?
Yes.
Or is it an accurate count?
He's responsible for that. I'll ask him to come in on the 18th to give a report as to what the hours are. Yes?
I'm sorry, one last thing. On the details that he got a grant for, there was also a request when he got that grant that he give an accounting of how the money was distributed on that grant for details. This was the $20,000 or whatever that came in from the federal government for a,
For the Kankakee Highway?
I thought it was
No.
16.
16 for speeding.
Yes.
No, it's only like $600 or $800.
It's a very small number, it's like 500 or 600 or 700. I remember I was shocked
Yeah.
when he said how much this grant was for.
Because the last, I guess I was confused. The last grant was around 40,000. I thought the next grant was the same amount.
No. No, it's only, I'll have to go back and look at it, but it's,
Less than $1,000.
I think it's $600, yeah. And apparently he's got 2 people coming in from the state and one, the captain from Wakefield Police Department, the chief of police from Wakefield Department coming in on the 18th. At 10 o'clock, that will be on the delegation's agenda. Anybody else got any public input? Yes, Damon?
Chip talked about 3% money, what's that?
3% money is what we got, the $23,500, $23,500 to build a new nursing home. We got it at 3%, which was unheard of. It was so low. Go ahead.
May 11th, Commissioners meeting. Grant for $600 for speed trap, Sheriff's Department.
$600. Okay, thank you.
Can I get paid?
You already are. Can't double dip.
Yeah.
Yes, Maureen.
So the discussion is going to continue on the nursing home and the co-op, whether it's going to go in
That's
there
according to
or
what I
not,
read in the paper.
whether it's going to go in there or not, or stay in Conway.
Right. But at 6 o'clock on the 18th, Representative McConkey is holding a forum, I guess, for any other better word, to find out whether, I think, the way I read it, to find out whether there's a value in having corporate extension at all.
Well, I was
Okay.
yeah, that was going to be my next question.
That's my interpretation. I don't know what his plans are, and I don't know what corporate extension is planning on. They're planning on having a few people here, I'm sure, but what they're gonna be talking about, I don't know.
Hopefully somebody's going to get their word out there so people show up.
It's not up to me or the commission, it's,
No, I understand.
Subcommittee of the delegation.
Because we're
Yeah.
on YouTube, so
yeah.
everybody watches.
I would hope that the room gets filled with people supporting corporate extension. I think they do a good job. That's my personal feeling.
And at the delegation meeting on Monday, are you going to reiterate all the talk that the building committee had about what was going to go into the old nursing home?
Sure.
The reason that we were going to save
Yep.
part of it,
Yep.
so we don't go on for 4 hours?
Yep.
Sort of run from that.
Yep.
And are department heads going to be able to go first? I know it's not your meeting, but
We
so
gotta
they
look-
don't sit here and waste their time and my tax dollars.
Yes.
Could they maybe
I'm glad you
present
brought
their
that up.
budget first?
We did get an email from Representative Umberger. She listed probably 25 or 30 items, line items, that are probably overspent by 25%. For example, heat. Well, most of our heat was done January through April, and therefore we spent 62% of our budget. That's the coldest months. A lot of the questions that she asked were the overages in the line item are pretty, we can explain those pretty well. The same is true for care of grounds. Care of grounds takes in not only mowing lawns, but also takes in removing snow. And so that was heavy. So all those kinds of questions, yes, department heads will be here. they've been given those questions to come up with the answers for them, so, yeah, hopefully